Okay, I am Jaden Hess, and this is my positive niche construction for my focused learner, aka how I have seen us alter the environment to support the student rather than altering the student to fit the environment. And this is based on the research done by Thomas Armstrong. So, a little bit about my learner. I refer to my learner as C throughout this presentation. He is in first grade and he is eligible under hearing impairment and developmental disability. He is partially deaf in his left ear and he struggles with just some developmental domains, and so that's how he's under developmental disability. He is placed in the general education classroom with supplementary aids and modifications and specific interventions, and his goal areas are math, reading, and social interpersonal skills. And just some general accommodations. He uses extra time on tests and work, and sometimes his work is done in smaller group settings rather than whole class settings. He gets his directions repeated as needed, he has flexible seating, and he gets breaks as needed. I'll go into those accommodations later, but yeah, that's a broad overview. So, this is a picture of C sitting in a chair with his friend, and just continuing on with the profile. His related services within the gen ed classroom, he meets with his hearing itinerant consultant 15 minutes a week, and then he meets with the audiology consultant 15 minutes a week as well. So that's just people that he meets with to go over, just to meet with him and check in and see how stuff's going. And then with outside the gen ed setting, he gets direct instruction from the special education teacher for 120 minutes a day. He has a class aide with him in the gen ed classroom for 60 minutes a day, and then he gets counseling services throughout the week, but it has to meet 450 minutes per trimester. So yeah, and I also wanted to mention he has a behavior intervention plan that kind of goes along with his social interpersonal goals. For strength awareness, I highlighted some academic strengths and some functional strengths. He excels in areas of writing and critical thinking and can effectively problem solve and follow multi-step instructions. So I just wanted to put a couple examples of what I've seen for him in here. So I've taught about 2 or 3 writing lessons this semester, and he loves them, and he always helps his peers brainstorm ideas for what to write in their stuff, so he definitely enjoys that. And sometimes he requires help with problem solving. I've seen in math specifically, sometimes he'll struggle, but with prompting, if I, get down on his level and say, okay, well, really think about it, he's normally able to problem solve on his own. So, and then functional strengths, he's able to communicate his wants and needs verbally, and he can follow complex multi-step instructions, interacts with peers appropriately at times, but really most of the time. And he's able to follow classroom routines and procedures independently. So again, I've personally seen this. I've seen that he communicates really well verbally with adults and peers, with me, with the other kids in the classroom. He doesn't really seem to struggle to express himself verbally. He can name emotions. Right now he's working on self-regulation, but sometimes he can say he's upset, but he doesn't really know what to do about that. But I think it's great that he's able to name that. I've seen that he can line up independently and follow hallway directions. Every time I go in the morning, they have PE that they have to put their shoes on and line up and walk quietly down the hallway to the gym, and he does great at following those instructions with no prompting whatsoever. Very rarely does he need reminders. And the last example I've seen is him attempting to build relationships with peers. Sometimes he struggles because he sometimes will have a meltdown, and I think his peers kind of see him differently because of that, but he really attempts to build relationships, and I think that is an amazing strength that he possesses. So some positive role models I found, just in general, he really looks up to male role models. When I'm at the school, I've seen that he really loves talking to the custodians and the male principals and those men that work in the school. So I tried to find men that he could look up to. So one I found was Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow struggled with dyslexia in elementary school, and then obviously went on to be an NFL quarterback. So the connection there is that C really looks up to the male role models and men in sports. So to see a man who was in sports struggling with reading, I think would be great for him. And piggybacking right off of that is Nolan Ryan. He struggled with dyslexia in elementary school and went on to be a Major League Baseball athlete, playing for the New York Mets, Texas Rangers, and Houston Astros. And the connection is that C plays Little League and looks up to a male role model who has learning struggles in reading. So that's a great connection. I definitely would talk to him about Nolan Ryan. And then this one's general. It's not a specific person, and I hope that's okay, but C wants to be a firefighter when he grows up. And I thought it was really interesting that when I looked up firefighters, I learned that most of them actually struggle with hearing loss from their jobs. They have acquired hearing loss. So I just thought it would be great to maybe have one come in one day and speak on how different disabilities, whether that be hearing loss or whatever, could actually be beneficial in their line of work, or how it's something that many of them struggle with in that line of work. I'm going to take a drink really quick. Okay, continuing on. Assistive technology and universal design for learning. I just tried to include some examples from what I've seen in the gen ed classroom. So for universal design for learning, under the engagement principle, my gen ed teacher uses a lot of visual cues or videos to gain interest, and because she knows that C really benefits from that, from having something engaging at the beginning to kind of get his attention and then sustain it. So almost always she'll start with a video, or she'll start with a picture of something, or she'll draw something to get them engaged. For representation, she uses a lot of visuals in learning, and she also uses subtitles in videos, and that goes kind of off of the assistive technology. But then expression, just always allowing multiple ways of presenting final products. For C, normally he does writing, so trying to have a writing option is encouraged, but just multiple ways so that the kids can kind of decide how they want to present what they know. And then for assistive technology, these aren't really specific to C because, again, he only has hearing loss in one of his ears, so he could get a cochlear implant for his ear, but he hasn't. He actually has an FM system that the team is trained to use, but he doesn't use it. Really the big thing is subtitles and captions for when he's watching videos and stuff. He doesn't use speech-to-text, and he doesn't use a translator, but I think speech-to-text would be something good to consider if his reading struggles persist past this year. And I talked to his gen ed teacher about that a bit, so yeah. For enhanced human resources, starting off with peer tutor, he does not have a peer tutor, but I think that he would really benefit from one after doing some research, because peer tutors benefit the student not only academically, but socially and interpersonally, and I think that would be great for C. So that's not something he has, but that's an idea I have of something I'd like to talk to his teacher about implementing. He meets with the school counselor in a group setting. I think they might meet every once in a while one-on-one, but the group setting supports his social development, and it's also integrated into his behavior intervention plan. So the counselor is a human resource, the hearing itinerant teacher and audiology consultant, obviously extra support for him, and then the special education teacher I put as enhanced human resources because he's not in that classroom all day. So that is extra support outside the gen ed classroom. So this is a long list of strength-based learning strategies that I found. I'm not going to go through every single one, but I'm going to kind of explain the big picture of each one. So for differentiated instruction, really just trying to kind of going off of universal design for learning, like the multiple means of engagement, just trying to, and engagement and representation, just trying to get students to interact with the material in multiple ways. And then multisensory teaching goes off of that, using all of the senses together. So not just having students listen to something, not just having students watch something, but trying to get everything together, getting something in there for, kinesthetic, or getting something in there for smell, or all that stuff. For academic and social support, that's a great learning strategy to get them working together. And so, like I said before, peer tutoring, doing cooperative learning groups, structuring peer interactions so that C is able to interact with his peers in a way that is beneficial. Visuals is pretty self-explanatory. I kind of went into that in the last slide. And then engagement, just getting him away from distractions, really trying to get him as close to the content as possible. I also want to note that if there were other hearing impaired students in the classroom, it'd be great to sit them together to allow for interpretation or to help each other. I've seen that that's good too. So for his career, like I said, he wants to be a firefighter, and I think that he absolutely could be, but I wanted to put some other options too. I think because he's good at writing and problem solving, he could potentially be a writer, or because he's personable and really wants to build connections with people, I think he also would be great in a human resources setting. And lastly, for environmental modifications, I just put 3 barriers and the modifications for each. And the first 2 kind of go together. So the first one is visual distractions that can cause him to lose focus. So our modification is reminding him as necessary to get back on task. The second barrier is loud noises in the room, like voices or the AC unit can distract him. So our modification for that is preferential seating. And the third barrier is having to sit for too much of the day. He gets pretty antsy. So there's 2 modifications, a chair band to bounce feet on, and then brain breaks throughout the day just to get energy out. And most of these are universally designed. I think my gen ed teacher does a great job of doing this for all the students, but he specifically gets these modifications. So yeah, that's my student. Thanks for listening.